Thank you. This is an exciting time. And I really want to, thank Eric for announcing that news right now, because this is what this project is about, the growth and development of our downtown, of our core area, and that's why we started this process years and years ago. So it's a great kickoff for what we're looking at doing here today. So my job really today is to set the stage. What we want to do is bring you up to speed with what's happening around here, but what I would like to do is take us back to sort of set the stage for what's happening. So I want to take you back to 2010. Think back there just a couple of years ago for some of you. We had a derelict gravel pit over on Whitefish Stage, the back row and Wilkin gravel pit site. It was a blighted eyesore. It had no future and it had no hope, and it was going to be with us a long time. We had a railroad track that came through Kalispell from the east side to the west side that basically was a branch line. The dastardly deed happened in 1904 when Whitefish robbed us of the train. And what was going to be the future of that rail? We had 2 users on the track, but that track basically held Kalispell hostage. We had 43 acres of vacant land that was trapped, landlocked, really couldn't have access to anything. It was along the tracks, but hemmed in by the tracks. We lost 4 rail crossings. The railroad took those away from us and basically said, you don't get any new pedestrian walkways, roads, anything across those tracks in Kalispell unless you take one of your existing ones away. That's bad news. Our police chief, Roger Nassett, basically said the best thing for the tracks for him and his line of business was he got to meet a lot of repeat customers along the tracks. So that's the stage that we started this planning process in 2010. We developed a plan, and we met. It started in infancy. This is a 30-year-old problem that who could solve it? So we met, we talked, we discussed. Next slide. That's kind of the project area we started with, and anything in green in there, those are the people we talked to one-on-one. There are 450 property owners. We did a lot of shoe leather on the street, sat down in their kitchens, their offices, wherever, and talked with. That's 2/3 of the property out there, one-on-ones, not counting the newsletters and everything else that happened. And we asked them, what's your number one problem? What's holding you back? What do you need to help you be successful? What is it that you need either for us to get out of the way or help you with? And the number one comment was, get the railroad tracks out of Kalispell. They are holding us back. And we said, well, if the tracks go out, what happens? No one wanted the tracks to leave Kalispell. They just wanted them out of the downtown area. They said, we want a trail in here. We want green space. We want a chance to grow. We want more density. We want more housing downtown. We want an opportunity to grow and expand our businesses. We want to be like other communities. Give us a chance. So we did that. We worked together, and we, as you see on the screen, we developed a plan, core area plan. And I know we've presented this before, but I want to just give you a few snippets of what that plan was. CTA architects helped put into a visual graphic what was written in a plan. And they gave us some great visuals. And this is just some snippets of it to jog that memory and give you an idea of what we were talking about. But for example, we're talking about pulling the tracks out and building a trail in from Woodland Park, from Evergreen, all the way over to Meridian, hooking up with the major trail system that goes Kyla, Summers, and all the way up north on West Reserve. But what if we took the bridge by Rig Ford? What if we made a Welcome to Kalispell sign out of it? What if we made a pedestrian bridge? What if we made that an access way into Evergreen and the jumping off for our trail system? What if we took, again, this is a picture right outside the Center Mall, right to the north of us. What if we took that trail, and what if we ran it through the mall? What if the mall turned northward and had some shops that opened up on the trail? What if we created a plaza, a place for restaurants, maybe a clock tower, maybe a few other features to add some life and dynamics to an area that, trust me, after lunch, walk out there and look at it. This is another aerial shot sitting high above Idaho, looking towards the mall again. What if we opened up a new access into that mall area? There are acres and acres of vacant land just north of this mall, and redeveloped it with maybe a parking structure, first floor retail, second floor office, third floor residential. What if we took, this is sitting high above the Cenex, not necessarily on top of on the grain elevators, but looking to the east. And what if we took Montana Street and turned it into a real downtown street? What if we added, again, multi-story buildings? What if we did housing in the downtown? What else do I have on there? I think that's the last slide we were going to show. So that just gives you an idea of what if we added some life, some variety, some density into the downtown area and the core area. Well, that was 2012, and 4 years ago, almost to this month, we sat here in this very room and we presented that plan to you. And it was an exciting time. The mayor, the council, and the Visita board all have indicated that they consider this to be, we use that word a lot, but a transformative project, probably the most exciting project in the last 100 years, and a project designed to take us the next 100 years forward. So, in 2012, when we presented this plan, you don't have to raise your hands, but how many of you, when you first heard that, said, oh, that's exciting, man, that's visionary, man, this is a great thing, man, this will never happen? Yes, I see one over there. The only honest one in the room. You know, it's a dreary day outside, but I want to tell you, this room right now is going to be full of sunshine because this plan will see the light of day. This is one of those projects that we've been talking about for so long. We are going to do it. And I'm going to introduce to you now Katharine Thompson from our Community Development Department, and she is going to take us forward on what's been happening and where we're going to be. So, Katharine, if you'd like to come on up, and I will step down. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I am so happy to be here, although I do have the toughest job of the day, following immediately after Tom. So you all will, I hope, be a kind audience to me, a slightly less dynamic speaker. So as Tom indicated, and you well know, we really got started on this project back in 2010. We had a grant that allowed us to focus our attention for planning purposes on the core area, and goodness, it badly needed that attention. So we spent then the next 5 years, as Tom alluded to, in extensive community meetings, 139 meetings to be specific, with core area property owners. We were mapping things, we were planning it, and we were making grant submissions, actually, 3. And then came October 26th of 2015. That day, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced its award of $10 million in transportation investment generating economic recovery, lovingly known as Tiger grant funds to Kalispell. Our local match of over $11 million will go along with those Tiger funds, and so we can build this Glacier Rail Park and Kalispell Trail. Now, the city and Visita, we're working now on that all of those preliminary project steps that include the NEPA process. And the NEPA process has 3 levels, and in applying for the Tiger grant, we had completed the first level called categorical exclusion. In the spring, you probably read in the news that the feds bumped our project up to an environmental assessment level, just based on the size and complexity of the project. Completing an environmental assessment for the project basically just means additional studies have to be conducted. And this step may seem less than exciting. It kind of is. But it does pave the way for a smoother project implementation. So we appreciate that. And we look forward to the implementation of the grant to begin this fall. And from that point, then we start counting on the clock. Then we're 5 years out. So year 1, we'll be moving dirt. What is it? 200,000 cubic yards of dirt. And beginning construction of water and sewer infrastructure to serve the park, and that'll be late this year or early next, pretty weather dependent. Following that, in year 2 will be construction of rail lines and street signalization on Highway 2. Also in year 2, but not funded by Tiger, CHS will build their new facility at the rail park. In year 3, CHS will shut down their existing facilities and make the move to the rail park a critical step in the project. Years 3 and 4 will be dedicated to track removal and trail construction, along with construction of up to 4 complete streets in the core area. Phew, okay, year 5. In year 5, redevelopment, revitalization, and transformation of the core area really begin. So with that, let's look at the map a little more closely and look at what Tiger's going to build for Kalispell and where. I'm going to walk through 6 maps with you. Oh, here's our first one. So we're all pretty familiar with this map showing the core area, that being the railroad corridor in blue, and the new rail park location, between Whitefish Stage Road Yep, and Highway 2 at what used to be McElroy and Wilkin gravel pit, and that's shown in, I guess that's purple. Map 2 shows us where Tiger will build a new rail spur into the rail park site with multiple lines of parallel track for multiple business users, and a key feature is that it will also build a runaround track north of the railroad overpass to allow for trains to be turned around, if you will, at the end of that new termination point, that new terminus of the line. Map 3. Map 3 shows us water and sewer line areas which will be extended into the rail park to provide service connecting to existing lines along Whitefish Stage and East Oregon. Map 4. There we go. So we have a new signal. It's required by and designed with Montana Department of Transportation. It will be built at the intersection of Flathead Drive and Highway 2. It's just a little east of the overpass. This will ease access to and from the new rail park for the large trucks and improve general vehicular safety in the area. Flathead Drive itself will be upgraded to handle this new heavy truck traffic from the signal north to the rail park. Map 5. Here we go. The old railroad track will be abandoned and removed from a point roughly 100 feet north of the overpass across through the city to Meridian Street. The track will be replaced by a bike and pedestrian path trail with safety improvements on the overpass bridge, converting it to trail use, street crossing improvements all along the way, and finally connecting to the existing Great Northern Rails to Trails section, which stretches from Meridian Street to Kyla and Summers. And we will be seeking your input as we move forward to the design stage. And finally, when we get to map 6, we have up to 4 complete streets that can be constructed with the Tiger Grant in the core area to create redevelopment and revitalization. The term complete streets refers to roadway, curb, gutter, sidewalks, and so on. It's really meant to serve people whether they're walking, biking, or driving. And we're just at the point of starting this conversation with you all, with this community. We'll be asking specifically, where do you see a need for better access and traffic flows, and what will be feasible to build? So on this map are just hypothetical locations. It's just kind of a way for us to get that conversation started. This summer, we'll be working with property owners, developers, and the community to identify the priority locations. This is an opportunity for us to look at those landlocked properties and potentially incentivize development in the core area. So we'll see lots more to come on that. So I have just given you a whirlwind sketch of the Tiger Project overview, its timeline, the where, the when, the how, and I'd like to turn it over to Kim now with Flathead County Economic Development Authority to speak more specifically about the rail park. Thank you.
Thank you, Katharine. Some of you might be wondering, why does Flathead County Economic Development Authority, FCEDA for short, want to build a rail-served industrial park? And I thought before we got into that, I should introduce to you the members of Flathead County Economic Development Authority's board. 6 of the 7 of them are here today, and if they wouldn't mind standing up, I'd like to thank you for the vision that you have brought to this project. Turner Askew is the chair. Jeannie Lucky is the vice chair. Also, we have Tony Brockman, Lyle Mitchell, Justin Amman, Paul Johansson, and our County Commissioner Representative Phil Mitchell that's with us today. Also, Rick Blake is a board member who was unable to be with us here today. So back to why we wanted to develop a rail-served industrial park. Many of you know Don Bennett, president of Freedom Bank, who was one of the founding members of FCEDA. And when I was first getting to know him, he said something to me that really has stuck with me for the last decade. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And in the past, Flathead County has missed a few opportunities to attract manufacturers requiring rail access who would have created hundreds of quality jobs. We missed those opportunities due to our lack of shovel-ready sites with access to rail. I know that it's hard to imagine that with the Great Northern Corridor running from Chicago to Seattle, right through West Glacier, Columbia Falls, Whitefish, and Olney, that we wouldn't actually have sites to meet their needs. But it turns out that modern manufacturers cannot build their facilities in floodplains, and they require city utility services with certain levels of water pressure and the ability to manage their stormwater. And they need access to fiber, and they want shovel-ready sites with a clear price to either lease or buy it that is all-inclusive, so they can simply build their facility and get back to doing their business. So we had some serious inquiries in the past from flooring and furniture parts manufacturers who we were unable to accommodate because we did not have prepared sites for them. So we had to miss those opportunities for those quality jobs that we would have liked to have seen here. Glacier Rail Park is a part of the plan to be prepared to get lucky the next time the opportunity arises. So, Glacier Rail Park is 40 acres, 28 are available for lease. It's located next to property owned and serviced by BN, who we have worked with extensively on this project for years. In fact, we talk with them, they're people from all over the country once every 2 weeks about this project. Most of the engineering is done, and the project will go to bid as soon as the EA that Katharine mentioned is complete. Each lot will be graded and ready for construction, and most importantly, each lot will have rail on site. But we aren't just waiting for opportunity to come knocking at our door. Our first tenant will be CHS, and you will hear their plans in just a minute. We have identified a number of industries that have increasing rail use, and we are targeting them to attract them to the Flathead. And we are also working with Mission Mountain Rail, Watco Railways, and BN to pitch Glacier Rail Park to their existing customers. But this is also not just about CHS or attracting out-of-state manufacturers. It's also about assisting local existing businesses that could benefit from occasional rail access and services, but wouldn't necessarily require being in the rail park. Team Track is what we have identified as an option that could service businesses up to 100 miles in any direction. And I want to read this for you so I get the exact definition of Team Track correct. Team Track is set aside for multiple businesses to share when they provide their own labor, vehicles, and insurance to occasionally load or unload product at the rail park from or to their own trucks. The company directly coordinates delivery and pickups with the rail company while leasing time on the tracks from Faceta. There is also transloading services, which eventually, with enough demand, a company like Watco or Mission Mountain Rail could locate in the rail park. And that would provide the actual services to local businesses that would include the logistics of moving stuff all the way to a business's site. So now I would like to introduce you to Mark Lallam, who's the general manager for CHS Kalispell, who's going to tell you about CHS's plans to build the facility at Glacier Rail Park. And while CHS's part of this plan is a key component, I just want to be clear that none of the costs related to building this facility will be funded by the Tiger Grant funds. And there we go.
It's been an interesting project, and I guess more of the historical. I came to work in 2000 for CHS, and this was the topic in 2000 of trying to get this accomplished. Matter of fact, you can go back into the vault of our company, and I have a complete set of blueprints from the 1990s to make this happen. So it's nothing new, but I have to remind, how many were here 4 years ago for this meeting? Why the meeting was delayed? Anybody know why? We had a 48-car train come in at 12:45 and realized a 48-car train is a half a mile long, and we shut down all the intersections of Kalispell. So I forgot all about that, Tom, but I have to say it wasn't by plan, but it was an odd coincidence. Let's first of all let's go ahead and go to the next. CHS Kalispell, of what we are, remember the merger of two co-ops, Farmers Union and Equity Supply. We have two sets of facilities on Center Street. We have a grain elevator, 350,000 bushel elevator, and with our feed store. These facilities would completely go away. It's about 1.7, a little bit over 1.7 acres. As I go through these, they'll be sold to Faceta as part of it. We have our main store on First Avenue West North, right across from Walgreens. That will be sold. And then we have that's what, half a city block. And then we have the old Farmers Union Co-op over on 4th Avenue East North, which is our agronomy facility. We have a retail store in there with it actually was the old shop we used to have, and we use it as a company shop right now. That's a little over 3.8 acres. So those three facilities we will sell to Faceta as part of the move as we move into the new industrial park. Let's go ahead and take a look at the new. This is where we're at. This is basically our last rendition, what we have thought. We will move the grain elevator facilities down there. Our plan is to expand it. Flathead Valley is a storage deficient area. We have 350,000. We want to move it to a little over 500,000 bushels. The facility to the left is the fertilizer plant. We currently have about 2,500 ton capacity within our fertilizer plant, and we'll move it to about 4,000 ton capacity to meet the needs. And then the bigger block up there is going to be kind of a warehouse. It's be what I would classify as a modified retail store. What our feed store is, it's a warehouse type store with a small frontage store to sell what we do best, and that's small acreage type and feed, and that really is our business. Okay, where are we at on this process? I guess I'd tell you, we have agreed, we have agreed to not to exceed dollars. We're at that point with Faceta. Both of our groups have said we can build this for a not to exceed. We're in I guess I would say in the final processes of it. One thing we did learn, Flathead Valley is a non-attainment dust area, which if you try to do any type of dust things, it's a major problem. So we're right now our company's going through the EPA requirements to meet the standards of a non-attainment dust. You just learn all about these funny federal laws. We expect to have that done probably within the next 30 days. It's actually going pretty well because this is a type of facility, I'll be real truthful, nobody builds a small elevator like this anymore. It just doesn't exist. So we're kind of flying under the radar because it's small enough, doesn't reach any capacity side that really triggers anything. We expect probably within the next 2 months to have the documents to Faceta that are really outline the move, if you wish, how it all is going to go down. CHS is planning to serve as a general contractor. Realize we build as a company in that we build not this small, but we only do about 20 to 30 of these a year. So they're going to serve basically as the general on it. It's a very specific construction. There's probably 2 or 3 people that have the ability to build an elevator. And the part of it is, as I told the city, you have to rely on Faceta. you're building the most expensive facility you could build because it's all custom made. So we expect to have that documents to them, and then we'll start to work on it on the not to exceed. Our expectation is to go to bid probably November, December. With right now we have a slated construction start date of around July 2017. And it'll really depend upon how their environmental assessment goes, and that's a totally flexible type one. But we felt with going to bid on this, they'll have the winter to build the equipment, and with a start into July. We expect the construction to last 6 to 8 months. Really, from an elevator standpoint, I really don't see us going into the elevator until around July of 2018. That's kind of the window where we're at. It's been an interesting process. It's been a great discussion on it. I won't say we've always agreed on things, but you know, the ultimate, and I guess I would tell you is just, you know, from our world, we run about 550 rail cars a year out of here. Sometimes we'll push up to 600 rail cars. With the trucks coming down for you in Kalispell, I do think it's going to be relatively significant. Just the challenge with the rail cars. But even of that, we bring in probably 2,500 to 3,000 trucks a year. And you know, bringing farm trucks, semis down the side streets of Kalispell is really not a good deal. We probably have 2 or 3 wrecks a year where people just don't have a lot of tolerance on semis, and our farm trucks get tied up with cars trying to turn left or right over there by our elevator, and it just makes for an interesting dynamics. The timing on this has been really, actually lucky, I would say. We're at a point within it where this makes a lot of business sense to us as a business. We look at it, and I guess I would say CHS is investing dollars into it. This is not a, here's my key, thank you very much. We're putting some pretty significant dollars on our side into it because it makes business sense to us. It's an advantage to our producers. And our facilities are old. And so for us, in our world, it is really a golden opportunity for us. I would say the timing was almost too late. And I say that honestly. The elevator and that, we had to put probably, the sad part, I put over $500,000 into that elevator just to bring some standards up to date, and unfortunately, that's going to be left behind. I've got another facility that we could really easily drop another $1 million to $1.5 million into it to bring it up to standards. Once I made that move, it really would have been too late. So the timing is right. As a business, it makes sense to us, and it works on our side. And I think at the end of the day, it'll be a win-win for everybody. So with that, Kim, am I done, or is Tom coming up? Tom.
Again, as I said, this is an incredibly exciting project, and what we have on the screen right now are the 3 CHS sites, and as Mark said, Faceta will be purchasing those sites at fair market value. Those sites then will be cleared and ready for redevelopment. So that is an excellent opportunity to bring continued life into the community. And we also have, let's see what our next slide looks like there. These are nondescript sites, but these are just giving us an idea of the scattering of vacant and underutilized sites throughout the core area. May or may not be for sale, but these are the sites we're looking at for redevelopment. As you can see, tremendous opportunity. Now, we just showed that slide, not necessarily for the real estate market here, but take note. But since we've gotten a Tiger Grant announcement, which puts us somewhat on a national radar screen. No kidding. Once a month, sometimes twice a month, we have national companies coming through asking us, what's going on with this core area? What's going on with the plan? Where are there sites we can look at? Where are you in the process? How soon are things going to get going? So for us, things can't get going quick enough to have this thing going. And I know Katharine said 5 years out there, and I'm going to say 3 years. We're going to keep this thing going. So the other thing that the city has done to help along this process, we've crafted a new zoning classification for this area, and that zoning classification really is intended to encourage more development, more urban scale development. We've reduced our setbacks to 0. We've eliminated our height limitations. We have cut our parking standards significantly down so that the people moving in here can adjust and apply their own parking to their own needs. This is an area that's much more urban, much more dense. Think of your traditional downtown. This is not suburban development that we're looking at out here. So that's what we're looking at. And as we said, the last 100 years we've lived through. What will the next 100 years look like? And that is where we're going with this plan. That is our vision. We cast a vision for the next 100 years. Let's go see what we can do out there. So with that, I'd like to see if there are any questions. That's generally the end. We could talk for days, and that's your fear. But I'm going to give the mic to Joe here, and if there are, oh, he's got a mic. If there's any questions you might have.
Questions from the audience. What kind of questions do we have today? I'm sure there's some out there. Yes, Erica.
So this is kind of ironic because I am not a big drinker, but I think that liquor laws need to be changed to make this project really fly. If we want to attract restaurant chains, everybody wants that a la carte, they're not coming here because we don't have very conducive liquor laws, and we've got 2 legislative sessions ahead of us before this hits its timeline, and I just think it's really critical for all of the lawmakers that are in this room, councilmen, talk to people. I think that it's going to be an important component to the success of this.
You want to take that question, Mark?
I would concur, though. We are somewhat held hostage by that limitation on liquor licenses for new restaurants coming in. That life and that dynamic that restaurants add to a community, it is a difficult game and a difficult shuffle for people coming in to try to find a liquor license to use.
Mayor, you want any comment on that? No? What, wait,
I don't want to dig myself into a hole before this legislative session.
Okay.
Other questions? Oh,
Patty?
What about parking?
The question's about parking.
Yes.
so for the new core area that you saw out there, we have actually proposed reducing the parking requirements. And one of the things we've done for our downtown, we've eliminated parking standards altogether. Because one of the things we found in our downtown, for a new business to come in, a store would actually have to come down because we provide surface parking. Really think about it, counterproductive. New business up, old business down, not good. In our new area, so we eliminated parking requirements in the downtown. The core area, we've cut our parking standards in half. So we're saying, yeah, parking is necessary, but we're going to reduce what we would normally require by a factor of 50%. And the goal here is long-term. We have to think of a different way of how we handle parking. We have acres and acres and acres in our community of surface parking. Parking structures cost money. We just need to be creative on how we do that. And we have talked in our planning of having parking structures where you have retail first floor, parking second floor, or third floor, but being creative on how we approach parking. Because parking, it will eat your lunch after a while. Nobody likes to walk past a parking structure, but we do need to provide parking. So it's on our radar. We need to address it.
Tom, could you talk a little bit about just the infrastructure to support this higher density downtown? How are we set up for that?
You know, one of the neat things when Katharine was talking about complete streets, that's just a street, curb, gutter, sidewalks, boulevard, and sidewalk and a bike trail. But we have actual funding to provide up to 4 connections through the railroad corridor. And that's not Big Brother coming and saying, I'm going to take your land and build a road. That is developer, if you've got plans along that railroad corridor area and you are suddenly the tracks are gone, and what do? We need a street to come through here. We have actual funding in this Tiger program to extend the water and the sewer and the streets and the sidewalks, etc., through to provide access for your business and to connect you with the greater community. So from that standpoint, this is a godsend in terms of the funding program we have right now to help encourage new development to happen. Otherwise, we've got some pretty good infrastructure through the community ready. We need bodies who want to invest and develop. Come soon. Don't wait.
I had a follow-up on the big streets.
Yes.
I know that it was mentioned that there's going to be community input and a thought for figuring out that's not set in stone quite yet. How does that fit into the conversation about the bypass being completed and maybe some one-way streets being converted back to two ways? Is that all part of the larger conversation?
Whoa, we have a larger conversation there. Stay tuned, because we are talking about the downtown plan. We're talking about looking at Highway 93 going through Main Street and taking back Main Street. So that is something very much we're looking at in terms of the bigger picture of how traffic flows through here. The bypass, it's going to be done in November. Imagine that. That's one of those 30-year, probably 60-year projects that they said would never happen. This November, it's going to happen. Same thing with the tracks are coming out. It's going to happen. So these are exciting times. But when the bypass comes out, when the bypass comes in, a lot of traffic is going to divert over there. Trust me, there is still going to be traffic on Main Street. The numbers would scare you if you looked at the long-term progression of what that's going to be. 20 years, they're going to tell us that the bypass is going to be carrying as much traffic as we physically have on Main Street right now. And Main Street will be up again in numbers. So, but that in the interim area, we have a chance to retake Main Street and do some pretty creative things with traffic flow through our downtown. That was always our goal. Get the bypass in, and then take another look at what are we doing with Main Street. And it's going to start with the courthouse design, that couplet area. That is an entire another discussion. But I'm ready to engage anyone.
How about a final question in the back?
Okay, how about some sort of a traffic loop around the greater Kalispell?
So the question was, what about traffic? We're diverging off on traffic. There's so much going on in this town. So the bypass is a west side loop. Careful there. The bypass loop is a west side loop. Our technical advisory committee, which is the Kalispell transportation body, we have said, what should our next choice be for transportation? I'm going to tell you that we are looking seriously at Willow Glen. So you've got the bypass on the west side, you would have Willow Glen on the east side, you would have Main Street going down Main Street. You suddenly have multiple ways to run traffic through Kalispell, something we've never had, and an opportunity for our Main Street to be a main street. So those are the big pictures that we're looking at. There's a lot of moving pieces out there. This is kind of a fun time.